The name Robert Raymond Cook echoes through the history of Alberta, Canada, tied to one of its most chilling and debated criminal cases. It is a story that refuses to settle, a mystery that persists decades after the final act. In the year 1959, a horrific crime unfolded that would forever stain the province's memory. Robert Raymond Cook, a young man of 23, was accused of an unthinkable act. The charge was the murder of his entire immediate family. 7 lives were extinguished in a single brutal event. The victims were his father, his stepmother, and 5 young half-siblings. It was a crime that shocked the nation and left a community reeling. From the moment of his arrest through every stage of the legal process, Cook maintained a steadfast declaration. He insisted he was innocent of the heinous crimes. His plea would ultimately fall on deaf ears in the eyes of the law. The case culminated in a grim conclusion. Cook was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. His execution took place in 1960, marking a significant, somber moment in Canadian legal history. Robert Raymond Cook holds the grim distinction of being the last person executed by hanging in the province of Alberta. His case closed legally, but the questions surrounding it were far from answered. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. The horrifying truth of the Cook family's fate began to surface not through a missing persons report, but through a seemingly unrelated event. The initial steps toward discovery were set in motion after Robert Cook's arrest. Cook was apprehended under suspicious circumstances. He was attempting to sell his father's vehicle, a transaction that raised immediate red flags with authorities. The manner of the sale seemed clandestine. Further investigation revealed that Cook was using falsified documents in an attempt to complete the car sale. This act of deception deepened police suspicion and prompted a closer look into his activities and whereabouts. While examining the vehicle, police made a crucial discovery. Tucked away in the trunk of the car were various documents belonging to the Cook family. These papers provided a direct link back to the family home. The presence of these documents, combined with Cook's suspicious behavior and the missing family, compelled police to visit the Cook residence. What they found there would confirm their worst fears and unveil a scene of unimaginable horror. Upon entering the seemingly quiet family home, investigators were met with a disturbing sight. Blood was found throughout the residence, staining floors and walls, indicating a violent struggle or attack had occurred within its confines. The search of the property led to a gruesome discovery that revealed the full extent of the tragedy. The bodies of the 7 missing family members were located, hidden away from view. Their final resting place was a dark, concealed space. The bodies were found crammed into a mechanic's grease pit. This pit was located beneath the family garage, a place of work turned into a tomb. The location added another layer of grimness to the scene. The victims were identified as Raymond Cook, the father, Daisy Cook, the stepmother, and their 5 young children. The children ranged in age from just 3 years old to 9 years old. 7 lives, spanning generations, taken together. The nature of the injuries inflicted upon the family members varied. Raymond Cook and Daisy Cook had been killed by shotgun blasts, powerful and immediate. The violence used was extreme. The 5 young children suffered a different, perhaps more chilling fate. They had been bludgeoned, likely with the butt of the same weapon used on their parents. The brutality against the children was particularly horrific. Evidence found within the home suggested the attack occurred while the family was most vulnerable. Bloodstains discovered on beds indicated that the family was likely killed while they slept, unaware of the impending violence. At the center of this unfolding tragedy was Robert Raymond Cook. He was 23 years old at the time of the murders, a young man with a troubled past. His history immediately placed him under scrutiny. Cook had a documented history of engaging in petty crime. His record showed a pattern of minor offenses, primarily related to theft. This background painted a picture of a man living on the fringes of the law. His life had been marked by periods of incarceration. Cook was frequently in and out of jail, unable or unwilling to stay on a straight path. This instability was a known aspect of his character. Significantly, Robert Cook had only recently been released from prison before the murders occurred. He had just completed a 2-year sentence, returning to a world that perhaps offered him little opportunity or hope. Given his criminal history, his suspicious behavior with the car, and the horrific discovery at the family home, Robert Raymond Cook quickly became the primary suspect in the investigation. All signs seemed to point towards him. The initial legal steps against Robert Cook were swift and severe. Based on the evidence found and his connection to the family, he was initially charged with all 7 murders. The weight of the crime fell squarely upon him. However, the prosecution made a strategic decision for the legal proceedings. To expedite the complex process of trying multiple murder charges, Cook was only tried for the death of his father, Raymond Cook. This streamlined the initial trial. As part of the legal process, Cook was ordered to undergo a psychiatric assessment. This was standard procedure to evaluate his mental state and fitness to stand trial. He was sent to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation. During his assessment at the psychiatric hospital, a dramatic turn of events occurred. Robert Cook managed to escape from the facility. His disappearance triggered an immediate and intense reaction from authorities. Cook's escape sparked a massive manhunt across the region. Police resources were mobilized, and the public was alerted. His status as a suspect in a brutal family murder case caused widespread alarm and fear. The search for Cook lasted several days, involving extensive efforts by law enforcement. His recapture involved dramatic moments, including car chases, before he was finally apprehended and returned to custody to face the charges against him. Throughout the entirety of his legal battle, from arrest through trial, Robert Cook maintained his unwavering claim of innocence. He consistently denied any involvement in the murders of his family members. When he took the stand in his own defense, Cook offered an alibi. He testified that at the time the murders were believed to have occurred, he was engaged in criminal activity elsewhere. He claimed he was breaking into a business, a lesser crime than the one he was accused of. Despite his testimony and plea of innocence, the prosecution built a case based largely on circumstantial evidence. There was no direct eyewitness testimony placing him at the scene during the murders, nor was the murder weapon definitively linked solely to him in a way that excluded all doubt. The jury, however, was ultimately convinced by the circumstantial case presented by the Crown. Robert Cook was found guilty of the murder of his father. The verdict delivered a shockwave through the courtroom and the community. Shortly after his initial conviction, Cook's legal team pursued an appeal. They were successful, and the conviction was overturned, granting him a second chance to argue his case before a jury. This offered a glimmer of hope. However, the outcome of the second trial mirrored the first. Despite the opportunity for a new presentation of evidence and arguments, Robert Cook was found guilty a second time for his father's murder. The death sentence was reimposed. With his appeals exhausted and the second conviction upheld, the legal process reached its final, irreversible stage. Robert Cook's execution was scheduled and carried out on November 15, 1960. His death by hanging marked a significant point in Alberta's history. Robert Raymond Cook became the last person to be judicially executed in the province. It was a somber end to a dark chapter. It is a crucial detail of the case that Cook was only ever tried and convicted for the murder of his father. Despite the initial charges, he was never formally tried or convicted in a court of law for the deaths of his stepmother and the 5 young children. Those 6 charges remained, in a sense, unresolved legally against him. In the days leading up to his execution, Robert Cook composed a piece of writing that would become a poignant part of his legacy. He penned a poem, a final message from death row. The poem served as his last public declaration regarding the crimes. In its verses, Cook vehemently proclaimed his innocence once more, maintaining until his final breath that he did not kill his family. More than just a denial, the poem suggested a darker possibility. It hinted that he had been framed for the murders, a victim of circumstance or deliberate manipulation. This added another layer of doubt to the case. Perhaps most hauntingly, the poem claimed that the true killer or killers remained at large. This final accusation left a lingering question mark over the entire investigation and trial. Cook's poem is preserved today in Canadian legal archives, a silent testament to his final plea. More than 6 decades have passed since the events unfolded and Robert Cook was executed. Yet, the case continues to stir intense debate and discussion, particularly within Alberta. the passage of time has not diminished its power to provoke questions. Among many locals and those familiar with the case, doubts about the verdict persist. The conviction based on circumstantial evidence, the lack of a definitive motive, and Cook's consistent denials fuel this skepticism. Questions continue to be raised about the evidence presented at the trials. Was it sufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? Were there alternative explanations that were not fully explored or presented? The possibility that Robert Cook was framed for the murders is still a topic of discussion. Who else could have committed such a brutal act? Was there another individual or individuals with a motive to harm the Cook family? Even those intimately involved with the case have expressed uncertainty. David McNaughton, Cook's defense attorney, famously admitted years later to being a fence-sitter on the question of his client's guilt. This admission from his own lawyer highlights the enduring ambiguity. The Cook family murders remain a chilling reminder of a tragic event that devastated a family and haunted a community. The sheer brutality of the crime ensures it will not be forgotten. Ultimately, the case of Robert Raymond Cook stands as a testament to the enduring power of doubt and unanswered questions in the pursuit of justice. It is a story etched in Alberta's history, a dark puzzle with pieces that may never fully fit together.